Hey, welcome back to Finding Blue Haven. As you might remember, we sold everything in Missouri and moved to Solomon's Island, Maryland, where we bought this most amazing boat and are now here fixing her up. Last time we showed you how we sanded everything off to get ready for painting. So today we are mixing up some 2-part epoxy to fill in all of the little cracks, crevices, holes, anything to try to give us a smooth surface for our primer.
We used the Interlux Interprotect 2000E and we used a 1-to-1 ratio of the dark gray and white to come up with this lighter gray in this barrier coat. Sit back in your chair right there and let us show you how it's done.
Or at least show you how we did it, because the correct way to apply this is rolling and tipping. That means you roll an area and then you go over it with a paintbrush. Since we didn't realize that at the time, we got it half right with the rolling. When we were ready to paint, we stopped at the boat supply store, the one where I actually now work, to get our paint and found out they didn't have enough white or gray for our project. So we ended up getting the gray and white, which seemed like a great idea until later on when it took a lot more than the 3 gallons we thought it would take, and then we had to mix it every single time we wanted to paint. The product we used, Interlux Interprotect 2000E, is a 2-part epoxy with a special microplate formula which creates an effective barrier against water permeation. It's especially designed to protect fiberglass holes, and it's a great primer for above or below the waterline. This first day painting was a very long day. We painted for hours. This product has a pot life of only a few hours depending on how warm it was. Thankfully, this day it was kind of cool, and so it lasted a lot longer, but we still couldn't stop until we painted all of it. This was one insanely long day, and this paint just would not run out. Ross finally said at the end when we were all exhausted, he's like, "We really heroed it out." And thus was born Hero It Up and Hero It Out. Woohoo! We made it to the top! We were gonna show you painting the starboard side, but we were so disenchanted with this project and frustrated and exhausted, we didn't feel like filming. So here's the top and us painting the deck. We were finally almost on the home stretch. You might be noticing that Mike is painting the teak railing along the side. We agonized over this decision whether we should paint it or not because it's old growth teak and it's awesome. You're supposed to leave it, but it was in terrible condition. We would have had to replace it. And so after a whole lot of conversations, agony, more conversations, we decided to paint it. By the time we got to painting the deck, it felt like we'd been painting for like 557 days, but really it had probably only been about 12. One day though, we finished a section of the deck, and that night we had a surprise rain. We were so worried that it was going to wash all the paint off because it had only had a few hours to dry. But thankfully, when we showed up the next morning to check on it, it was all fine and you couldn't even tell it had rained. We knew she was a big boat when we got her, but there are certain things you can do that make things look even bigger, like say, painting. The more we painted, the bigger she got. And in the beginning, we thought we could probably do this with maybe about 8 gallons total, maybe 9. In the end, we used 14 gallons to completely cover her, from bow to stern, deck to keel. As we neared the end of this project, we only needed smaller amounts of paint. But unfortunately, since we had the brilliant idea of mixing gray and white in the beginning to make this color, we couldn't just go get 1 quart of paint. We had to go get 2, 1 gray and 1 white, so it would match the rest of the boat. It was kind of cool to put all this primer on to be able to look at it when it was done, because through this process, we ended up sanding off everything that was already there, all the paint that was there, the colors, everything. In the sanding process, we also sanded off her name at the back. And even though we kept her name the same as what was there, Stratego, somehow in sanding all this off and painting her all the same color, it was like a fresh new start, a new beginning, almost like a new identity, but all the old was gone and now she's all new again. Usually when you paint a boat, you paint everything you can and then come back through and move the jack stands and then you can paint underneath. That was our plan, but actually we ended up moving boat yards with the boat, and so we painted these jack stands after we'd moved her to the new boat yard. We're going to show you that whole moving process in a later episode. Once we moved her and we're down to just painting where the jack stands were, we decided the area was small enough it wasn't worth mixing white and gray to match the rest of the boat. So we just used gray. It looks a little bit funny right now because it doesn't match, but pretty soon we're going to cover it up with our final colors. Putting all this primer on was a really long process, but once we had sanded her down to the gel coat, none of that is UV stable, and we had to get her covered as soon as possible. With winter right around the corner, we had to work through all of the weather windows we could to get everything covered. But we finally got her covered, protected, and now she's all ready for her final colors.
If you're enjoying this video, make sure to hit that bell icon to be notified of our upcoming videos, like our next one where we work on the inside of our boat.
Thanks for watching!